It's expensive to watch games now. It used to be free.
Let me ask you something. When was the last time an NBA game really gave you chills? Not a crazy dunk on Instagram, not a step-back three on a highlight reel. I mean a full game that had you on the edge of your seat, nervous, angry, hyped, all at once. Nowadays, you turn on a game, see a 7-foot unicorn pulling up from the logo, a three-point god casually dropping bombs, a veteran legend jogging around in his farewell tour. The scoreboard says 130 to 125. The commentators scream about historic efficiency. And you're just sitting there thinking, why does this feel so empty?
I add to that, I don't watch NBA games, so I'm just as much a follower as anyone else is.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't like watching the games.
The league looks bigger, shinier, richer than ever, and yet more and more people whisper the same thing. The NBA we fell in love with is dead. Over the last few decades, the NBA has transformed so much that a guy from the 80s or 90s would probably walk into a modern arena and start looking for the exit. More money, more lights, more global attention, more brands, more everything. On paper, paradise. But the players who survived an era where the paint was a war zone and hard fouls were just good defense look at today's product and say, this is a different league.
Even for me, I love the NBA game, but then I turn on to a game, right? And then the stars are not playing because of Lowe's management.
Maybe prettier, but not the one we signed up for. And some of them don't even bother to sugarcoat it. They just straight up call it dead. Back then, the NBA wasn't built to look pretty on Instagram. Nobody cared about slow-mo filters or what would trend on TikTok. The court felt more like a battlefield than a stage.
Do offensively. Jordan and Jordan goes down hard, and he looks hurt. Oh.
Woolridge set the pick. Jordan lost Vinnie Johnson, and Lambeer just fired at Jordan. Michael doesn't like it. And now Daly and Allback. How do you like this? When do you ever see this? Chuck Daly wants a piece of Stan Allback. And now Vinnie Johnson. Stan Allback had no business being on the other end of the floor, even though he's protecting the superstar. And Daly said, get out of my end of the floor. Now the crowd is riled.
Defense wasn't optional. It was your identity. The paint wasn't a colored area on the floor, it was a meat grinder. If you drove in soft, you didn't get an N1, you got a lesson. There were dudes who in today's league would probably get suspended just for the way they stared at opponents. A lot of them talk about that era in one sentence. It wasn't entertainment, it was survival.
What do you think about today's game now? As you sit back and you kind of analyze it as a former player and a fan.
Oh man,
let me throw this at you too, because the ratings for the NBA is down.
Yeah, I would say let's get back to where our best players are being creative again.
Today, way too often, it feels like you're watching a long commercial for beautiful basketball, not a fight for pride. Now, the rules are polished to the point where it feels like you're only allowed to touch opponents emotionally. You can't hand check on the perimeter. You can't hold your ground too physically. You can't really shove under the rim without risking a whistle or a flagrant. Stuff that used to be called good, tough defense is now treated like a crime. The result, guards dance around the three-point line with way less fear, and bigs under the basket are more scared to make contact than to get dunked on. Old school guys watch this and say, you have no idea what it meant to go to the rim back then. It was 50-50, 2 points or dental work. Today, you see a lot of games where both teams basically take turns launching threes. One side bombs away, the other side bombs back. Both are trying to hit from outer space. Defense? Sometimes it shows up only in the fourth quarter, if the score is close enough to care. One old school player said it perfectly. If I want to watch a three-point contest, I'll go to a three-point contest. A game is supposed to be a fight.
Well, for me, I think the integrity of the game is gone. You know, I think that's what's lost. You know, people fighting to get on the court. People dying to play 82 games. People, you know, just that attitude, that old attitude of the game that some guys still have. It's not everybody.
But when a regular season game feels more like a shoot-around for role players, is it really shocking that fans are choosing 10-minute highlights on YouTube over watching all 48 minutes live? Rivalries used to be the heartbeat of the league. If you wore one jersey and the other guy wore the rival's colors, you were not friends. Some teams haunted each other's dreams, and not in a cute way. Playoff series were personal. Losing wasn't just a bad night, it was a scar on your name. Players weren't worried about how they'd look in a joint commercial afterward. Now, Completely different reality. Players train together in the offseason, go on vacation together, host podcasts together. Everyone's a bro.
The Warriors played the Mavericks. It was one of the worst games I've seen.
Yesterday, you were the face of one franchise. Today, you're teaming up with the guys who were your enemies because rings matter more than rivalries. For human relationships, that's beautiful. For drama on the court, that's like pouring cold water on a boiling pot. The regular season used to be like a campaign. 82 games, 82 battles. If you were healthy, you played. There was no, maybe I'll skip this one. Now we have a new superstar term, load management.
Do something. You know, Dan, last time I was on your show, you asked me a great question. You said, is it load management or just too many threes? And I said, it's really a combination of both.
A player looks perfectly fine, smiling, dunking in warm-ups, and then the box score says DNP, rest. Teams track every step, every flight, every heartbeat, every minute of action and decide, this game doesn't really matter to us. Strategically, makes sense. From a fan's point of view, we don't really care about this one, hits very differently. Think about a dad who buys tickets as a dream gift for his kid. 2 seats, a long drive, parking, burgers, jerseys. That's basically a mini vacation budget. The kid spends the whole week talking about how they'll finally see their hero live. They sit down, the lights go out, and then they find out that the hero is out. Rest. No injury, no illness, just load management.
There's a lot of traveling that goes on in the NBA that refs just they're not looking for. They're not reffing. But there's a lot of travels.
Whatever logic teams use in their medical reports, emotionally, that moment feels like, thanks for paying, but today our plan matters more than your dream. It's a very clear reminder that in this business, the fan is often just the background, even though their wallet is front and center. And here's the core of the old legends argument. They can see that today's players are insane. The speed, the vertical, the handles, the step backs, the crazy finishes. Some of this stuff didn't even exist back then. They're not denying the talent, but they keep coming back to the same point. There's not enough of that feeling that you can't afford to waste a game.
Our game it's a lot of fucking threes being shot.
Not enough nights where you'd be terrified to miss a matchup because something historic might happen. Now, games often feel like just another event on the schedule, not a life or death chapter in a career. Talent is overflowing. Soul? Not always. Another thing that drives the old heads crazy is how much big men have changed. Back in the day, if you were 7 feet tall and 260 pounds, your job was simple. Guard the rim and eat smaller players for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The paint was your home. Everyone else was just visiting. Today, a lot of bigs look like this, standing behind the three-point line, waiting for a pick and pop, avoiding contact like it's a tax audit. Post-ups are rare. A truly dominant center is almost a mythical creature. The paint went from a battlefield to a pretty historical landmark that most people just jog past on their way to the next three. Analytics came into the league with good intentions. The idea made sense. Let's do what's most efficient. The numbers showed that 3 is worth more than 2. Shocking, I know.
At 39, I think I saw it the other day. I think I have like 70,000 minutes. I was explaining to my wife the other day. She asked me, how am I feeling when I came home after a game? I said, babe, just imagine buying a 2003 Escalade and it's 2024 and you've never changed the tires. So rub my feet, please. And I've never changed the tires. These are the same tires from 2003.
That mid-range shots don't pay off long-term and that free throws are gold. The problem started when analytics stopped being a tool and became a religion. If a player is great from mid-range, he still hears, we don't play that way, we need threes. If a coach sees something working on the floor but the spreadsheet says otherwise, the spreadsheet wins. And when numbers win over instinct every time, the game stops feeling like theater and starts looking like a spreadsheet in motion. That leads to a pretty funny paradox. On paper, the game is smarter. In reality, it's often more boring.
As a media matter, it's interesting. Like, people compare us to 20 years ago, but for these games 1 and 2 so far are the highest rated programs in May and June so far on television. And if something beats us, it'll be another sports program. Back 20 years ago, we often didn't win the night when the finals were on. but the ratings, the absolute rating is lower now. In some ways, I couldn't be happier. I mean, we're dominating in these cities. We're dominating relative to other programming, but ultimately the goal is to get more people to watch, and that's what makes it a bigger event. And so we have to be innovative and find new ways, you know, podcasts, social media.
Yeah. Teams jack up 40 to 53s because that's the math. Inside, it's either a quick roll to the rim or a foul hunt. The mid-range is basically a restricted zone. Jerseys change, arenas change, logos change, but the styles of play all start to blend into one giant copy-paste. One current player put it bluntly, where's the creativity if all our best players have to do the same thing? And honestly, how do you build a legendary, unique style when your playbook was written in Excel? Another headache for the old guard is the slow death of fundamentals. Back then, coaches locked you in the gym and made you repeat the same move until you hated basketball, and then you did it 10 more times. Footwork, post moves, balance, proper defensive stance, crisp passing, that was sacred. Now a lot of young players grow up on best plays of the night. They see ankle breakers, poster dunks, insane step backs, but not the boring base those moves rest on. Some retired players coaching kids now literally tell them, watch the NBA to learn what to copy and what not to copy. Because if a 13-year-old starts his game with 3 logo threes just because his idol does it, that career is probably ending in a high school gym. The offensive numbers in today's league are insane. Teams regularly put up 120, 130 points. Records fall every year. If you only look at the box score, you'd think we're watching the most intense basketball ever played. But when you actually watch a full game, the recipe is often pretty simple. Soft rules plus a blizzard of threes plus a ton of free throws. That can be fun sometimes, no question. But when that style becomes the default, not the special occasion, it starts feeling like an arcade mode. Fun in short bursts, hard to fall in love with long term. Another thing that annoys both old school fans and new ones are the little things you can't unsee. Obvious travels that somehow everyone in the arena sees except the 3 people in gray shirts. Guys taking 3-4 steps without a dribble and looking surprised when anyone questions it. Flops where a light bump sends someone flying like they got hit by a truck. Fans aren't stupid, they see it. And when it happens all the time, it chips away at the game's credibility. Not tough, dirty, just messy fake. On top of all that, there's the mega product side of the NBA. Games stretch close to 3 hours, stuffed with ads. Broadcast rights chopped up so hard that if you want to watch every game of your team, you need 3 different subscriptions and a tech support hotline. Blackouts, regional restrictions. It starts sounding more like software licensing than sports. And when the main questions sound less like, how do we make the game better? And more like, how do we maximize package revenue? It becomes very clear where basketball ends and the Excel sheet begins. So, is today's NBA really dead? Maybe the honest answer is this. The old NBA, the raw, ugly, bloody, deeply personal version, yeah, that one's buried. The new NBA is absolutely alive in numbers, alive on social media, alive in financial reports. But is it alive emotionally? Does it still give you that feeling that you can't miss a game, that something real is on the line every night? Or is it slowly turning into a super polished, super optimized, super profitable simulation of what basketball used to feel like? So now the ball's in your hands. When you think about today's NBA, what do you feel? Are you still setting alarms to watch games live in the middle of the night? Or are you more like, hey, I'll just catch the highlights tomorrow on my phone? Do you miss the old days? Real contact, real rivalries, big men owning the paint, games that felt like battles? Or do you love this new era of logo threes, insane handles, and 130 to 125 score lines? Have you ever gone to a game all hyped to see your favorite star, only to find him on the bench in a tracksuit because DNP rest? Drop it in the comments. In your eyes, is the NBA still alive? Or are we all just watching a very long, very expensive, very shiny highlight reel of a league slowly attending its own funeral?